Pull the string, pull the string!
Scoodly, wow, wow, wow.
Play area backstage.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Craig Cicero and
Matt Camacho
from Forbidden, and you're watching Bay Area Backstage.
It's just been the greatest experience, man. The last like 3 years since we've been back together. What, 2008? Well, wait.
About 4 years now.
4 years, yeah. So,
Steve's been in the band for 3 years.
Right. So just we started out, doing a couple of summer festivals, and then around 2009, Omega Wave was put together and came out in 2010, and toured a lot of last year, and just got the whole gamut of everything just to experience back on the reunion. It's been great.
Yeah, and I think more specifically, what your question is the resurgence of thrash in general. Is that correct? Okay, it's pretty amazing to watch it rediscovered and reimagined through these kids, and some of them do it really, really well, man. And they're all so technically proficient now, maybe more so than we were back then, And but I like a band that can do that and keep it really ferocious live and not worry about so much about how well they play. Because live is live, man. We all tried to play good, but we all pretty much fucked off when we were young and just like, everything was like, I always like to say bees in a blender, because that's what it sounds like to me. It's like, and that's okay in a live situation. So that's something I look for in a band, if they can let it go.
Yeah. It's been interesting seeing some bands that look exactly like we did in the late 80s, with the high tops and the peg leg pants and stuff.
Tapered, stretch.
Okay, leather jackets are back, and of course the vests are.
The vests, probably the one thing that never went away.
Like, wow,
especially in Europe.
Still see all that,
It's true. It's like a time machine.
Yeah.
And then when I met Matt, we were just in high school, and it was like we were both wearing our denim vests and had the big high tops and the whole thing. I mean, we were what they've turned into now, and. More specifically, and people ask me that all the time. What you ask, and it's like, it's really difficult for those bands to know exactly the mindset we were in, because of the musical influences we had back then came from either classic metal or punk rock, strictly, and then we started just speeding it up, and we were influenced by the first wave of that, the Exoduses and the Venoms and the Slayers and of course the Metallicas and stuff like that, and we were right there at the ground level, but it's just kind of difficult for them to know exactly what it was we were pulling from, because we had like Ronald Reagan, Nuclear War, and Satan, Good and Evil, and metal. I mean, it was real simple, and there was a huge threat of Nuclear War, which has not gone away. It's actually worse now, but there's more renegade shit. But people just tend to look at that subject matter like, oh, that's old hat. It's like, oh, it's fucking pretty relevant, but. I think these guys in Warbringer get it, and I was talking to them, and they definitely see the world as a super volatile place. I just had a few minutes with them, and they brought it right up to my attention. So I respect that. You got to know it. Represent your genre of music. Ours is about death and destruction. That's what we do. comics, yeah. Hopnosis. Hopnosis. That was a phrase that I was coining way before he was even elected. And that song was actually written before he was even nominated because it was so obvious. It's not like anybody is like some super fucking soothsayer. Like, oh, he's going to be president. I can predict. It's like, it was obvious that he was the chosen corporate president to me. I mean, we all have different feelings. We don't all feel exactly the same. But my feeling about what you could pull from now is that we've become such a totalitarian, weird regime in this country where everyone's so cut off by reality, by technology. They think they know everything, but they don't really get involved in anything. It's like we know it all, but we don't actually get in the streets and do it. Imagine the Tea Party. There would have been no Tea Party back in the old days if everyone was a bunch of pusses as they are now. You know, they're fucking wimps. People won't stand up and get out in the street and really do anything because they're afraid they're going to get crushed, because they will. So you have a lot of things to write about, but now you have to worry about what you say can and will be used against you more than ever because they pass these weird laws that have happened over the last 3 or 4 months that they could just take you down. And I'm a target. I mean, but I care to stick my head way out of the hole as opposed to just, you know. So hopefully, I don't think they'll fuck with me, but I certainly say what I want. Reality is this trippy thing because it's infinite realities. You know, what your perception is of all this stuff. And a lot of people don't pay attention to the undercurrent. And I understand that. Why, it's very difficult because all you're going to do is really get frustrated. But my philosophy is be very happy in the now because this is all you got. So even though I'm pissed off about what's going on, like my life, my family, my son, my wife, the things that I love in life, I fully enjoy these things because they could be yanked at any second. So a lot of people just don't even want to even think about this stuff. And I get it, I mean, but all of a sudden it's going to be, I just like to know what's going to hit me before it hits me, personally. I don't know, what's your feelings on that, Matt?
I'm probably the opposite of Craig on that. I'm like that fine balance. Like when Craig was bringing these ideas, I even actually brought like a song to him to kind of just balance out everything that everything's the end of the world and destruction and the conspiracy stuff, and I don't necessarily get with that, but I totally respect and love his writing and his lyrics, and I'm kind of like, he calls me the devil's advocate on that, so keep him on his toes and argue on it. But no, I totally think the opposite. I think we got complete full rights. I don't think I think people can say what we want. For example, he has his own radio show and says whatever he wants, and in this country we're able to do that, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that is something that we have for the moment, but what everyone needs to understand is they've passed and implemented enough laws now to yank that away in a hot second. So you have it for a second, and now they can just take it away in less than a second. Flick of the switch, and it's all different. And that's because they've pushed these laws through to keep people at bay at this point. And this was stuff I saw coming a few years back, and a lot of people did. But I said when Russ and I were sitting there writing the album, because Omega Wave is what we're really talking about here. When we were writing it, we'd sat down and we'd scour the internet for multiple sources. We would watch multiple documentaries, try to I would show him different things, that he wasn't turned on to, and we just said, we're digging in, dude. We're gonna go full-blown paranoid conspiracy on this one, And but we made it straight to the point and didn't go shooting over anyone's head with it. And maybe if Forbidden in the past would have tried to overshoot it a little. And I think on this one we tried to keep it real, almost street, as far as just blatant, this is it, right in your fucking face. Here's what you're going to be dealing with. And pretty much I think everything that we talked about is all unraveled into this little moment of time where it's right on the brink of it all. It's right on the precipice. All we need is one natural disaster, boom, or unnatural disaster. They can do it. It's true.
Twisted into form.
family?
Yes, I'm pretty spiritual, like Taoism and Buddhism and family for sure, and friends and just love, man. It's that kind of person. A real stoner kind of pothead love guy.
I believe in the power of God. Power of God with an extra O, which is good. I believe in good, like being cool to people, and just don't walk on people along the way and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess that's kind of Buddhism in its own way, but I'm not sure about reincarnation, but I think that all that kind of stuff has if you believe anything in quantum physics realities, and there's multiple realities within multi-universes, and it gets a little weird, but it's like, your mind is an infinite universe that connects to other people's minds, is how I understand it. So it's like, it just kind of goes on and on forever. So if you close it off, then that's your reality. Yep. If you open it up, then that's your reality. That's kind of how I see it.
You got to smoke weed with him. Well, I kind of watched him from afar. Like, when he was here, I was really jealous. I was looking, Craig was smoking a joint with Ronnie James Dio, and I was all, what? No way, like, trying to butt in there. But, and then we played with the year that he passed away, actually, in Sweden. And he was sitting right across from us eating dinner. And none of us would get up and go talk to him. You don't want to bug somebody in dinner and stuff. And, like, you think about that stuff when someone's gone and you want to tell them what they meant to you, but that stuff, the music that he's created, and going from Black Sabbath to Rainbow, and what Holy Diver did to us in the beginning, is just phenomenal. I mean, he's just a true godfather of everything that happened there. And I wish I would have said something to him, but everybody does. But he was real gracious about that. So, and I don't know, maybe you could tell them about the cover that we did and stuff too. Yeah,
well, first I'll go back, like you said. I got to meet him for the first time because our buddy Sleaze was really good. He's friends with him from knowing him through touring over the years and stuff. And he had introduced us when we played with Ronnie James Dio at one of the very last two Forbidden shows. We played at the Trocadero in San Francisco, and I go upstairs, and he's all, "Hey, Ronnie, this is Craig from Forbidden." I'm like, "Hey, I played for you." I know you are. I'm like, "Oh, really? Yeah." I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I love it." He's like, "I know what you do." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, I know." He knows. He's a student of the game, so he knew all this stuff, and he was a big fan of Russ, because Russ is one of the few great singers out there, and I'll get to that in a moment. But then you fast forward years, and then I meet him again with Sleaze when Dio's opening up for Deep Purple and Whitesnake, I think it was, and I go back, and Chuck and Tiffany are back there, Chuck and Billy and his wife Tiffany. And it's like, "Hey, Craig, how's it going?" It's like right where we leave off. He was always like that. And then when we did play with him at Sweden Rock, he gave me the nod because he knew we were on the bill. That's all I got, because he had to go sit and eat. But he looked a little frail. He wasn't going to spend a whole bunch of time unless I was going to go bother him at the table. So we all decided to leave him alone. But fast forward, we lose him. It was devastating. But what he meant to me lyrically with his colorization of his phrasing and what he said, and just like he just had great parables, man. I mean, everything he did poetically was so ingenious, and he didn't have to say too many things for you to get multiple pictures. And that's one of the things I loved about him. He was very ambiguous with his lyrics, and I like to take that little piece in when I write lyrics, just like, let's be ambiguous with it, let's write something that's could mean a few different things. And that was the wonderful thing about that. And we were covering, or they had asked us actually to do the Bang Your Head Festival in 2010, and they said, "We're going to dedicate it to Ronnie James Dio. Could you please do a cover?" And we talked about it, and everyone kind of had a different idea, but Russ was very adamant. He said, "I want to do Children of the Sea, because that's the song that means the most to me. That will showcase what I can do to, honor Ronnie." And he did, and we did, and it was, from a lot of people's standpoint, not just the high point of our show, but the high point of that day. It was like a really good moment, because Russ just got goosebumps from, he really nailed it. So we later went and recorded it. We did a few covers, and that was the crown jewel of the thing. And we have Children of the Sea waiting to be put out. We're going to put out an EP with some live stuff and the 3 covers on it. And I'm right now attempting to see if we can get it on the Dio tribute album that's coming out, because they haven't fully gotten everything done. So I'm pushing for this right now, and it would be really amazing if we could be honored enough to even have our name associated with him and what he's doing. And he was a great dude, man. I mean, he was a dude. That's the other thing. He was just a dude. He's a god and all that, but I was wearing my 49ers stuff. He's like, fuck the Niners. I'm like, what do you mean fuck the Niners? I'm a New York Giant fan. So we like had that immediately, you know. So we talked about football the next time I saw him too. So he's just a dude, you know. He's just a good dude.
I can just go back to when, you know, I was a kid and, you know, first saw Metallica and Exodus. And it was just like, it kind of changed my life. I remember just going home on BART after those things, being 15, 16 years old. Just couldn't even believe that a guitar could sound like that, or a riff, and just wanted so bad to just even play like that. And but for kids bands that are coming up, you know, these kind of things, you got to be inspired, obviously, and they come to these shows and get inspired, and then they want to know how to make their band big. And I always tell them the same thing: when you're a new band, and in fact, I actually wasn't in the band yet when Forbidden Evil was coming up. We were called Forbidden Evil, and I heard this name, and I was like, "Oh, that's such a badass name!" And there were these parties they were playing in Fremont and East Bay and Ruthie's and stuff, were like legendary, because there was like cops and riots, and you know, so you hear about 30 cop cars coming and, you know, houses getting destroyed. So I wanted to be part of that, and
it's all true.
Yeah. So and, you know, I always recommend, if you're gonna have a party, make sure you give away free beer, and everyone's gonna want to go. It's an event, and that's how Forbidden Evil came up, and how I heard about it, and how I wanted to be a part of it.
It's really good advice. What he just gave is great advice, because it's like nothing's real in rock and roll or metal unless you're really pissing your parents off, and things have become so fucking safe. I mean, but kids are doing fucking hardcore drugs now and different things. We were doing hardcore drugs. I mean, I was drinking my own 12-pack of beer when I was going, before I went, you know, every night I practiced, and I'd wake up in the morning, I'm going to go to school now, you know, it's like, get stoned on the way. It's still bad like that. It's not good, kids. That's not good. But that's what we did, and we pissed parents off, and our parties were meant to destroy things. But it was new back then. That kind of goes back to what I was saying. Everything was new. You can't relive that cycle, but you have to create excitement. And high school kids are a huge part of that. And if you can get in touch with all the high school kids that tell other kids, and then your city knows about you, and you got to be like, play those parties and keggers and have the cops show up, and, you know, all that kind of crap will really help build a legacy faster. And Forbidden Evil built up really quick like that, because many a house was destroyed, many a fence was torn down. It all really happened, you know, and that will help a young band. If you really want to get a reputation for being ferocious, you better be fucking ferocious.
Find a house you can destroy.
Yeah,
yeah. Somewhere a party, or like things that get kicked down. Remember how we met?
Well, when we met, yeah, let Matt tell the story how we met.
Oh, okay. You know, I was like,
back it up.
Oh, is that all right, man? Is that all right? No, is that all right? No, okay. Anyway, I met Craig. It was just really funny, because I was like, I was still like, kind of a wannabe. Like, I was listening to Metallica and Merciful Fate and things like metal stuff, and I still like crossed between a little bit of the fucking LA glam scene a little bit. And but I just knew all about like the underground stuff, like Exciter and Merciful Fate and Satan. I mean, because there was this really vibrant scene going on that was still way underground. I mean, this is like Ride the Lightning was out and shit. But anyway, I'm in art class, and I hadn't met Craig yet. Or, well, I mean, I knew who you were from some girl I went to your studio and stuff. Mutual friends. But he has a Merciful Fate album that he went and picked up during lunch. And we're in art class, and he comes in with Don't Break the Oath, if you ever heard of that record. And it was just like groundbreaking, and one of those albums that you just like change your life. And that's when we started talking. And I did a lot of bullshit and trying to tell him I was better than I was, trying to get in the band that I worked on for quite a bit of time. But that's how we met, like in high school, until I got kicked out really fast.
He did. He got kicked out fast. He got in a fight immediately for screwing somebody's girlfriend, and it was like, It was crazy. Matt came rolling in, but he had attitude. This kid before he was doing anything. Hey, shut the fuck up back there, huh? I can't see you, but I hear you. I don't know. I have no idea. But no, but I mean, back then, Matt had all this attitude, and he didn't really play. But I remember the first riff he played me. Still, I remember him play. He played guitar. This is a frustrated guitar player turned bass player right here. Many guys do that. But yeah, I remember that riff, and Matt had just this attitude that nobody else had. He was like, he came in and like, he was basically every girl in school was swooning over this guy. Like, oh, he doesn't care about anything. Yeah. He had, well, at least the slutty ones. And
the best one.
but yeah, we hit it off. But I mean, I wasn't all developed or anything. I was like, I had a weird haircut. My hair hadn't grown out. I was way into metal, but I looked at all his friends like, those guys are kind of posers. They got like Motley Crue next to Venom patches. I didn't understand all that. I was like, it's Venom or nothing, you know. Venom and Exciter and Slayer and Metallica and fuck Motley Crue and Kiss. You know, by then, I changed a bit. But that's how we kind of met. Yeah. And we all became really close friends, like his circle of friends, my circle of friends, and then Fremont and Hayward became united. And that's kind of how it all happened. Then Union City got in between us because they're there. But yeah, we pulled that circle and completed it. And then we had our own scene. And when he got in the band, it really became a close, tight scene, suburban scene that we moved up into the clubs. And, you know, I could say that when we first started, even before we started playing with Matt, when we first started playing, we were playing like Exodus songs before Bonded by Blood came out. We had demos, Exciter songs, you know, songs that people had never heard and they'd lose their mind. In the suburbs, they lost their fucking mind. They didn't know any of that stuff. They're like, oh my God. That's when they started losing it. So we kind of made that metal grow off of our friendship and the people we knew. And the other funny thing about that very same day he's talking about, the Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath, I brought that album over to Rob Flynn because I knew Rob, and we were doing Forbidden Evil at that point. And he hated it because he liked the other stuff. And for the first day, he's like, dude, that album sucks. I took it back already. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're crazy. Yeah. And then he went and got stoned and listened to it. And he's like, no, it's killer. I take it back. I went and bought it again, you know. But that, and it goes, luckily I play with Hank Sherman now. I have Demonica with him. And it's just really ironic that it all came full circle. So that somebody I looked up to so much actually asked me to play in a band with them. I mean, it's fucking stick-to-itiveness, kids. You know, sometimes they come back to you.
It's funny because I was telling you I heard about the parties and stuff because then you flash forward maybe another school year or half a year, and then Forbidden Evil was really gigging, like, you know, the parties I was talking about. And I since I got kicked out of school and was going to continuation, and I get on the bus and I walk on the back of the bus, and there's Rob Flynn sitting in the back, right? And I'm all, ooh. So I was working on Rob and working on Craig at the same time, trying to get, you know, like, oh man, you should let me play bass, or, you know, all this kind of stuff.
He was working on all the phone calls and just running into us at parties.
And they actually came out, and I was playing in this band that was pretty much a poser band. I convinced them to come out and see me play. And Craig was really into it, and I think Rob was into it, and Paul was like a little iffy, but I had like actually met with them, hung out with them one night, drank some beer with them, and they actually told me I was going to be in the band, and they changed their mind the next day. Like, oh, well, you took one of Paul's beer, man. He doesn't really trust you.
Yeah, Paul doesn't trust you, dude. Paul doesn't trust you yet.
So I had quit my band, and all of a sudden I had no band to play in, and I joined this other metal band. And like 3 months later, Rob and Paul coming to the BART station. Oh, dude, you're in the band, blah, blah, blah. So it was pretty funny. That story cracks me up.
Well, that very night, too, we went and saw him at the studio Vantage Point play with this other band, and he really stuck out. And after the show, it was announced over the PA that Cliff Burton died that night. And it just was like solemn cloud, you know, like, oh. So even before you know, you were already trying out for them like that week.
Yeah.
I mean, they came back and had opened.
Showed up and made an ass of myself, but you know, I made an ass of myself. I walked in and couldn't play the songs, but I used it as a tool to get into Forbidden. I was like, dude, I went and tried out for Metallica, blah blah, you know. So I kind of, you know, they know what's up. I had to connive my way in, and it worked out, and I'm glad I did. So Matt's got
the heart that kind of keeps this thing fucking genuine in a lot of days. He pisses us off, but we do that to each other. But he's got a genuine heart that keeps it real. Makes sure no one gets too out ahead of the game, you know. And that's everyone's really vital to the whole thing. And as far as being I consider him one of the 3 original members because we weren't really a band until we had him. When we had him and Paul, we were a band. But even then, Rob wasn't really. He was already kind of dangling towards I don't give a shit about anything. So he wasn't really into it then until Violence was perfect for Rob, right? So it all worked out. I guess when we became a real complete band, when Glenn came in, and even more so when Tim got in because we got along better. But you know, it's stages, but he's part of that original stage as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's different because Matt may have a different thing, but I'm a pretty well-rounded, like musically. I have rock too. You know, I have my Spiral Arms thing and the Man Made God thing, and I want to just be really open-minded. I want to, even though I use metal as my vehicle for like kind of corralling the negative energy, I have a whole other thing that I use for really positive side too. So I just think that you know, I want my son to just know that he can do anything he wants to do if he really chooses to do it. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket in life. And if you do, that's your choice, but that leaves you less choices.
You know, I personally think that about Forbidden and the legacy that it's already left behind, which is kind of interesting that, like, for example, we can go anywhere in the world and play. We're like this little cult phenomenon thing, even if it's just a couple hundred people or a handful of people. But still, people are giving us enough respect to like do another record, or for example, when our drummer left, we got calls from all around the world. You know, I mean, we're like this fucking small time band, really, that at this point can't really sell out a club, but the hype is good. You know, people, you know, the bands that are involved want to play. There's like 20 bands that want to open up for us. So I mean, that to me, respect is kind of cool.
The best way to put it.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't necessarily know if we earned but it's kind of nice to see that and I think that with the music that's been created, even some of the albums that didn't get their due in the States, but are on the underground and are really respected by musicians that I look up to. And for us to be a part of that Bay Area scene that I think is going to live on for a long time. So I feel really honored, and I think it's a privilege to be a part of that. And I think it's going to continue.
I echo that sentiment. I think that's, as far as just Forbidden goes, strictly speaking, it's an honor and a privilege to even have anyone respect what we do, the music, enough to, you know, I mean, like we've become a cog in the whole machine, and you couldn't ask for anything more, because if no one really cared, then we certainly wouldn't be doing these things. You know, you wouldn't be asking us these questions. So you just can't take that for granted. And it's nothing to get a big head over at all, because music is a gift. We're all radio receivers. You know, you just receive what you get and put it out there, and we're just lucky people like what we do. You know, I really feel that way. When I was younger, I'd be like, oh yeah, we're fucking. It's like, no, not really. You know, we're just very fortunate to be doing what we're doing, and people give a shit. And I think we all respect that more now. Yeah. Well, it's about time for us to start getting ready for the metal show here at the Avalon in Santa Clara.
Thanks a lot, Backstage. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us ramble.
Some of you heard of our new album, Mega Wave, huh? Well, you know, I kind of hesitate that because it's not so new. It's a lot newer than 1990. Yeah, Josh is kind of new. Anyway, here's one of them. It's called Hot Shots. Oh, Shots!